Hello, welcome to C for Chat. Ndimusi. It's been a while, but I'm back. You know how it goes. Most life tends to do what life tends to do. So it was what it was. So welcome. Get to today's episode of C for Chat. I chose the worst time to do this video because it was a Sunday. Chillers, hectic. So there's a lot of background noise, but I'm gonna need you guys to hang in there and just bear with me until ndibheke this video. So tell me, have you ever felt la feeling man yobana this person is not the same person that I know, okanye is not the same person that I love, okanye it's not the same person that I know and love. You know, there's something wrong with this person because the person that I know would not do this. The person that I love would not treat me this way. Like, are you sure? Sometimes when you're not there to witness the event and someone tells you this, and then you'd be like, are you sure now? Because Londimazi would not do that. Now imagine that feeling, but now you are inside, you are faced with this person yourself. And like, I am so confused. I am so confused because Lomdu Ndimazi Yamna would not under any circumstances enzelendo behave like this, act in this way or say the things that this person is saying. So what is this? But you stay there and you keep having this hope that the one that you know will come back to you. Do they? Probably not. So, story time. 3 weeks into the relationship with my ex-husband, but the dating part of it in 2013, he started blowing hot and cold. Some days he would be like, lovely, and then other days he's like stonewalling, he's cold, he's just distant. And I would wonder, what is this? Because I've never experienced this. Remember last time we had spoken about how red flags, you need to be sensitized to them before you can actually associate feelings to them. So I was like, this is weird. I've never ever been exposed to someone so inconsistent. Everything of his is just inconsistent. Sometimes he does this, the next time he does that. And I'm like, yay, Sana, what is this? But I kept on hoping. And this guy, he would come back to me. The one that used to buy me flowers, man, at work. The one that, used to drop off lunch with the secretary. The one that used to give me a call when he's in front of, the cashier or the teller at Nando's and be like, bamba kancane, and then the teller would be like, hello, Sisi, there's a booty here and he's wondering what you'd like to eat. And I'm like, oh man, that's nice. The one that would take me on road trips and see heavy fun, enjoy. Like, I missed that person, and I kept on thinking and believing that he was gonna come back. But of course, we know almost that it's love bombing, Landulea, and there's a reason for it as well. There's a reason for it. So I felt like that. I felt like that, and he continued to do what he does. Right, I've made notes here, hence I keep on looking going in direction. So he kept on continuing what he does, and blowing hot, blowing cold, and now I kept on staying. And I remember telling my friend, who was the matron of honor at my wedding, and I was like, Chomi, this is what he does. And then every time I would tell her what this guy is doing, my friend would be like, Jonga, I would have broken up with your man a long time ago. There's no way that I can put up with this. And I would understand her, but I'd be like, but she doesn't know the good one. She has not experienced the good one. And he continued to do that because really it is his norm. And then obviously I started feeling a little bit crazy. Indobana, hey, how is it possible that this thing is okay? Like, this guy, is he functioning kakuhle? Like, what is happening here? I don't get it. And I honestly was clueless at that point. We understand. Fast forward, we get to the marriage part. And then he immediately did what he, in fact, even when we were still like after lobola in negotiations and we spent a lot of time together, he used to do that. But guess who carried on with planning the wedding? This one. So I continued, and then in the marriage it got so bad behavior yakhe that I would be like, hey, like what is happening here? Like, I'm so confused, and I really started feeling like I'm losing my mind. He would say things and do things, and then he wouldn't recall that is what he did, or it was systematic memory loss as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, most with narcissism, anything is anything really. So I was like, I got to a point where I started feeling like ndifuna kubekho cameras apha endlini. But I won't get into those details right now. But I just got to a point where I was like, am I losing my mind? What is happening here? Like, I'm so confused. And everything that happens with narcissism started happening. The gaslighting, the, yongindo that happens there with narcissism, the blowing hot and cold, the instability, the, the love bombing, and then devaluing, and then, yongelando. And I just stayed. I stayed and I prayed in the marriage, praying that this would be okay. Mind you, we had broken up no guy when we were still dating, right? And simply for the simple reason that he was who he was in the marriage. I broke up with him because he was who he was in the marriage when we were dating. How weird is that? But in the next episode, I'll tell you, or maybe I'll do a live on TikTok and tell you about what made me really get into that marriage, and what has been happening the past 2 weeks since I've been quiet from C for chat. It's in relation to doing some inner work. All right, so okay, fine. Without divulging too much information, Gule. So I chose to stay, guys, and I was hanging on to the good parts, and I rejected the bad parts because the bad parts didn't fit my narrative of this guy and who this guy is, and who, in fact, I wanted him to be, not who he was. Who he was who he was, but who I wanted him to be, right? So I carried on being who he was, and I carried on staying, and I carried on praying. Okay, so that feeling of it got to a point. This is what I missed. It got to a point where in the marriage I even started feeling like, hey, the good body too, Lord. This is a body too, Sana. There is no way that this is the man that I fell in love with, that I decided to spend the rest of my life with. There's no way. Like, body too, he has been taken by witches, Sana, and put in a tank. Manzi empty. And now I am living here with a body too, because there is just no way. And at some stage, I thought like he would come home, and as I anger spells like that he had been fed from wherever he had come from. And then I would actually even get to a point where I'm thinking, hey, I think this guy has a girlfriend, and they had a fight, and now uzozikhuphela apha kuthi endlini is stress. I've never caught him cheating, to be quite honest. I don't even think he did cheat. If he did, he was very clever about it. But I don't think he cheated, to be quite honest. And I would just think to myself, hey, but this guy had a fight with his girlfriend, and now he's coming back here to take it out on us. But Ayonando that I thought was good body too. There is no way that Usol Wam, the one that I know and love, would be behaving like this in the marriage. There is no way. So I stayed and I prayed. I fagi effort in salvaging that marriage. I don't want to lie. I fagi effort. I put in like dafaki shoulder payana in making sure that marriage lasts and it survived. But unfortunately, if there are two people and only one ufagi shoulder, then you know how it goes, most. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, hun. So we continued, and eventually I just gave up. I was like, yo, I smaggy. One thing that you know, smaggy, usemazulwini, you can even vouch for me when if the angels are inquiring for some reason. I put in the hours in this marriage, ndaifake shoulder, and I'm walking away with a clear conscience, to be quite honest. Like, my conscience is clear because umzamo omhle ndiwuzamile, and uqatso ndilufezile sana, uthule thulwini emtshatweni, umhlabe yo. So yeah, no, it was quite something, I don't want to lie. So that feeling of thinking bang body too, that feeling of believing that, yay, this is not the same person that I fell in love with, that same person will come back, and denying the evidence that is right in front of you. No, this person that you hate is actually the real person, to be quite honest. There's a term for that in psychology, and it's called cognitive dissonance, right? Cognitive dissonance is a mental conflict which occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information, which causes reactions in the brain which result in one shutting down and disregarding the evidence that is right in front of them. So now there's a conflict. The person that I believe, body one, lo ndimthandayo kunye no body two, lo ndimcapukelayo, and I'm believing to accept that body one, no body two is actually the same person. It's actually the same person. My mind cannot accept it. My mind cannot fathom it. My mind cannot comprehend into yokubana this is possible, that the person that used to woo me and Shelly lunch secretary yam emsebenzini, and the person that hates my guts, to the innermost core of his being, from the innermost core of his being, is actually the same person. So my mind just decided, body two, and I just need to pray harder that body two anyamalale abuye body one wam lo ndimthandayo. Cognitive dissonance. The brain is in denial. Basically, denial, cognitive dissonance. It's when you just refuse to accept indobana, this is it. Nan's effect. Yeah, understand? So you totally shut down. Now, what does that do to you? It causes you to stay. It causes you to overlook the red flags. It causes you to not take into consideration the person's background. It causes you to excuse his behavior over and over and over again, or her behavior, because women are also hectic human beings. So it causes one to excuse the other one's behavior over and over and over again. And you even start changing yourself and trying to do stuff to get body one to come back to you. Like ndifuna chwayita wam lo ndimazi. I used to say ndifuna soul wam lo ndimaziyo, lo ndimthandayo, the one who nditsho ndikota a long list of things that I used to love about him. And at this point in ndiyacenga, we've had a bad fight as always, and ndiyacenga, and it's really what I did, ndandicenga, because I'm a peace lover, so I was always the bigger person, trying to mend things, trying to fix things, trying to resolve conflict the way that I know conflict resolution to be, or should, or the way that conflict resolution should occur. And I was the one that wanted the marriage to work, and I constantly ndafaki effort man in everything, trying to get him to do away with the body too. And now as I'm speaking to it, it's like total madness, Sana. Like, how does even do away with the body too? How does even do away with the body too? Like, you can't. So you end up unyamezela. The Xhosas will say kuyanyanyezelwa emzini. Like, that's what I did. My in-laws were not my biggest issue. They were an issue, a big one, food, but they were not my biggest issue. My biggest issue was this body too in Hlalanaye apendlini. And Sana, one thing that I did, I put in the hours, and until eventually he did something drastic that caused me to realize that I honestly just can no longer deal. I've tried, and the reason why I didn't leave at 3 months into the marriage was because I really wanted to leave with a clear conscience. In the manner, no, I've done my best. Honestly, I've done my best, and there's nothing else that, I can do. So it is important to be wise like a serpent, as the Bible says. Yes, the Bible says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask for it from God. And I lacked wisdom. I don't want to lie. And I lacked wisdom because another thing, what makes people, including my ex-husband and some people, to say, Vanandi, naive. I really am naive in this regard, that I always choose to see the best in people. Like, I never accept the bad. Well, before now anyway. I just walk away, son, and kind we friend, like, please, I don't have to deal with you. But what made me naive is the fact that even with him, I knew there was some good, and I really believe Banasingai power couple. That's another thing. Like, I felt Banasingai power couple, and and I held on to those feelings for dear life. I hung on to those feelings, and simply because I believed bana umyenam lona ndimthanda, lona, who did this and that, who was like this and that, who is going to come back to me. And that is where I was unwise, to be quite honest. But I was also unwise from the beginning, get to see the red flags, to understand that this person is who he is. And even though he came back into my life a year and a half later, say we'll get to even though that happened, I still, like, I should have known Indobana. Lamdu Galoko that I broke up with was a year and a half ago. He's not going to change. He is who he is, and he will forever be who he is. But I chose to talk it out. And obviously he said everything that I wanted to hear. I was like, what about A, the one that we broke up for? And then the reason why we broke up was reason A, not a person. And then he would be like, "Hi, dikhulile ngoku. I've learned my lesson. What?" And I was like, "Hey, what about reason B?" And then he would be like, "No, I can even show you evidence that I'm no longer that person." That's the only reasons. And he convinced me. In the Yokbana, he was the one. And I even went as far as to say, "Bana, have you prayed to your God, son, Indobana akubonise whether or not I'm your wife?" And he said yes. And I was like, "Utin?" And he's like, "Utin go umfazi wam." Ha! His God didn't say that. But the Satanism in him was like, there goes a decent human being that you need to upset and make unstable for a long time to come. There's your duty on this earth, to make Uqaita miserable and to cause her to be unstable and wondering. I honestly don't know how I ended up surviving that, to be quite honest. And now the thing with cognitive dissonance, it affects your mental health. It affects your mental health so much because what you are seeing and what your mind is believing, they don't work hand in hand. They are not congruous. They are not cohesive. They are not all of those English words. And you struggle to accept the reality, because in your mind you have painted this picture and you want to stick to it. You understand? And it causes a lot of mental health problems, depression and anxiety. My mother passed away, and I was not taking medication afterwards. I didn't go to a mental hospital. I just had memory loss, and then that pills for that, and then the pinanda right. You understand? But in the marriage, I knew there's something called anti-anxiety medication, but because I don't like pharmaceuticals, I went the herbal route. And I remember the lady in Port Elizabeth, she was like, "Why are you not praying?" And I was like, "Sana, prayer need to need the anti-anxiety herbs, because and I'm a sleeper. Like, I even had a nickname when I was small, when I was a baby, that indicated that this girl uyalala, like they used to bafike, you know, a finger on in front of my nose just to check if I'm breathing, because that's how much I used to sleep. But next thing you know, ngoku in this marriage, andikwazi ulala, ubuthongo behli, I'm constantly in a, you know, my tummy's in a knot, nerves, nervous, anxious, and every time he comes through the door, I don't know what to expect. You know, are we going to fight? Am I going to be loved today? And I just never knew what to expect. And I would try by all means to show him what I want, how I wanted to be treated. He was a taker. Okay, he took and he took and he took all that lovely treatment and he never returned the favor. And I would constantly engage my mind. I did a lot of work in Ngondwenyam trying to figure out and make the situation turn out the way that I had envisaged it would turn out. And it just never did. You understand? So cognitive dissonance will cause you to lose your mind. And I even started developing little habits that I needed to use as a crutch. You understand? One of them was I think I just let everything go. Like I just wouldn't even wash the dishes. I was depressed, man. I was depressed, to be honest. You know, most men are depressed. They sleep all day. They don't open curtains. The house is a mess. You know, like there's nothing that's working out. They just in a state, and that's really how I was. And even that, he used that against me. One of the house is a mess, and I'm just like, you know what? The reason why this house is a mess is because of you, actually. But okay. At that time, I was too involved in trying to find solutions, and I tried different things every day. Yobana, today I'm gonna make him lunch and write these little cute notes, you know, in between the sandwiches or whatever. I would write Bible verses. I still do. Sana, and guy, he will take it. He won't say stop doing that. He will take it, but he's not going to return the favor. So cognitive dissonance will drive you crazy. It will drive you to drink. It will drive you to drugs. It will drive you to sleep. It will drive you to behavior out of character. And to be quite honest, during that time in my marriage, I was the angriest person I've ever been. I was very angry. I had conflicts left, right, and center, to be quite honest. And because I couldn't, there was a lot that was going on inside me. And as much as Ababandu that I had conflicts with, but I think right now I'll just be like, yeah, and then just move on. But the effort and to call these people to order, Sana, I was like, Joe. In hindsight, I'm like, Sana, Lo was a miserable somebody, and there's literally nothing that I could have done differently, to be honest. It just was what it was. So cognitive dissonance will also cause your personality to change. You're going to adapt new habits and new behaviors with personality yako, because your mind is in constant conflict. There is an ongoing war in your mind, an ongoing war. Auna peace in your heart, because you are constantly trying to solve le mata yobana. This person na lona are not the same person. Go body too, and you invest your energies. Look, Jonga, I had dreams that I wanted to pursue. There were things that I wanted to do whilst I was in the marriage, but I couldn't focus on those things because I'm too absorbed and I'm too involved in trying to sort out this marriage so that body one, no body two, they correlate. And unfortunately, that's where people lose themselves. I'm glad that I didn't end up losing myself permanently. Thank God. But at some point, Shem, I was an angry bird. An angry bird because there was war here. I wanna park the Bible when they say, and there was war in heaven. Lucifer and his angels. There was war up here, son. You like great controversy. What's happening here in my head? All because my brain would not accept the facts. And the fact of the matter was, yes, that lovely person existed. It was him, but also the mean, ugly person on nasty who's angry, constantly angry, is the same person that I married now as well. Yeah, understand? The person that convinced me, no, I've changed, is the same person who has not changed. And my mind could not accept it. And it is very unfortunate that eventually I had to leave, but I'm also glad that zange ihluthi ingqondo yami didn't take my sanity from me, on a permanent basis, because there was a time when I was insane, I don't want to lie, and I even saw it on on my child, my daughter, and I was like, I've neglected even being a parent, and here are the results. My child is misbehaving because I am absent, but I'm in the house. You understand? So the ripple effect of a cognitive dissonance, you see it in your career, you see it in your parenting skills, you see it in just your everyday existence, you see it in your personal hygiene, you see it in every single thing, because your mind is at war with itself. Your mind is at war with itself. Guys, I cannot describe lendo effectively, man, indobana, what it does to a person. But again, let me know if you've ever experienced this thing. Body too, or there's no way. And let's chat about it with comments. You can send me a private message on my Facebook, which is Kwai Mtembu on Facebook. You can send me messages on TikTok, I think, which is c4chat.org, ne? Go TikTok, or even DM me go Instagram, c4chat.org, right? And then let's hear your story. Let's hear your side of the story. But let's go and meet go TikTok, where I will be discussing, I won't necessarily be discussing more cognitive dissonance issues, but there's something that I want to discuss on TikTok where my eyes were opened to what was really happening to me when it came to the decisions that I took to end up marrying that guy. Yeah, so we'll discuss that later on today. Alrighty then. Sharp.